Over the next 6 minutes that I'll be speaking to you, 24 women will be abused. I am a victim of domestic violence. My church members and pastor failed to recognize me as a victim and failed to recognize my husband as an abuser. My pastor counseled me to practice submission and to return to my husband before it was safe because it was my responsibility to give him a second chance. Pastors and church members fail to recognize and support domestic violence victims, but both pastors and church members can reach out and help victims. I will validate the failure of the church to recognize and support domestic violence victims by discussing main point 1, which is abuse within Christian families has become an ignored epidemic, and main point 2, pastors and Christians can take part in resolving the domestic abuse epidemic and uphold God's value of justice. In the book Violence Among Us, Branson and Silver write, in the Christian community, 1 in every 4 women experiences family violence. As the awareness and incidence of domestic violence increases, however, pastors find themselves ill-equipped to deal with the crisis. There is very little training, if any, provided by seminaries in this country. Beverly Engel defines abuse as any behavior that is designed to control and dominate another human being through the use of fear, humiliation, and verbal or physical assault. Dr. Grant Martin asks, consider the following facts. Persons killing their spouses account for 15 to 20% of all murders in the United States. The FBI estimates that a wife is beaten every 15 to 30 seconds. 2 to 4 million women are abused each year, and 4,000 of them are killed. Unfortunately, domestic violence or spouse abuse appears to take an equally damaging role within the Christian community. I have read so many testimonies from women who have been abused and not been recognized by their pastor as an abuse victim. They're told that they need to submit more in order for no abuse to occur, and that if only occurred at one time, it doesn't qualify as domestic violence. And they're told to return to their husband sooner than they should. And also, they're told that if they get divorced from their abusive spouse, that they're committing an unforgivable sin. In No Place for Abuse, Branson and Silver write, secular workers, such as social workers, do not refer religious clients to clergy. Why is that? They fear that the counsel offered in a pastoral study will thwart their clients' healing journeys. Pastors and church members can take part in resolving the domestic abuse epidemic and uphold God's value of justice. In the NIV, 2 Chronicles 19:7 says, now let the fear of the Lord be on you. Judge carefully, for with the Lord our God there is no injustice, partiality, or bribery. The violence is not going away by itself, even if the victim and her husband claim to be Christian. So talk to the victim privately. Talk with the wife about taking action for her own safety and perhaps the welfare of her children. Reassure her that the abuse is not her fault. She is not to blame, and what her abuser has done is wrong and illegal. Assure her of God's love and that God does not want her to remain in a situation where her life and the lives of her children are in jeopardy. Let her know that it is likely that in spite of her abuser's promises, the violence will continue and most likely escalate. Also explain that domestic violence is a crime, as much of a crime as robbery or rape, and that she can seek protection from the justice system. So we can see that the failure of the church to recognize and support domestic violence victims and how within the church families has become an ignored epidemic. We also see that pastors and Christians can take part in resolving the domestic violence epidemic and uphold God's value of justice. Pastors and church members fail to recognize and support domestic violence victims, but both pastors and church members can reach out to help victims. As you go out into your home churches this week, I challenge you to observe the people around you and pay attention to the silent cues in the victims around you. Watch for these 5 cues. Watch. Withdrawal, apologizing, tense, closed mouth and hiding. Watch. Thank you.